It's time for Baseball's Last Frontier, stories from the Pecos League, the podcast that will open your door to baseball's entry level, telling you the stories of the teams, players, and coaches of an independent minor league circuit. I'm your host, Bruce McClure, and I have the pleasure of introducing you to my friend, partner, co-host, and man on the inside, Ivan Katz. Evan, I've heard a story about you branching out into, it was something about learning about being a train conductor or something. Help me out here. How you doing?
Okay, good. Yeah, I think the trains in the United States are older than baseball, or they were developed right around the same time. I don't know, was it Alexander Cartwright in 1839 in Cooperstown, and the trains were rolling. I'm going to get to that story in a minute. I just want to say I'm in Blackwell, Oklahoma. Our first trip here, we just traveled 450 miles, mostly on one-lane roads, most with shoulders, from Trinidad to Blackwell to get here last night, only to go to the field and be rained out. So it's good and bad. No baseball, but we get to relax a little bit, which we did some of last week. We had 2 off days. July 1st and 2nd, back-to-back off days, no scheduled baseball. The players really had a chance to do their laundry, worked out on their own. We had a meet and greet at one of the local spots called Axes and Aces, where we had signed photos and met some fans. For me, as a coach, being a little bit older, I took a couple of naps. I got a massage. And then, of course, sinfully, had ice cream for lunch one day and ice cream for dinner another night. I will confess to that.
So, okay. So I got to jump in. I need to know, what flavor of ice cream did you have and how was it?
It's good. Well, it's cookies and cream with peanut butter sauce.
Oh, okay.
It reminds me of Fluffernutter.
Yes. Good stuff.
Fluffernutter, which some people may know. I think it's got a national reputation. Marshmallow Fluff, which is marshmallow cream, manufactured in Lynn, Massachusetts, one town away from Swampscott, where I live. Swampscott is right next to Lynn. Peanut butter and fluff on bread is a Fluffernutter. I think that cookies and cream with peanut butter sauce is close to a Fluffernutter you can get with a cold dessert. So that's what I had.
We have not been paid a single penny for endorsing Fluffernutters here today on this podcast. I just want to get that out there. But I'll tell you that it's funny you mentioned that, because my long-suffering wife, Molly, who puts up with me and my baseball addiction, has a bit of a family tradition, for lack of a better term. Her long-departed Uncle Larry, who I knew when we were both young, had a thing that he did every year. He was a teacher in Connecticut, where he sponsored Fluffernutter Day at his school.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Where he would come in with, like in this incredible amount of bread, marshmallow fluff, and peanut butter, and make sandwiches all day long and charge, a small amount of money for them, and take all that cash and donate it to whatever charity was voted on that year. And the family still does it today, even though Larry has left this life. And it's a fun thing that they do every year.
Well, we got a 3 cheers for marshmallow fluff. And just
That's right.
When I'm really enjoying my peanut butter, I get Teddy's peanut butter, which is manufactured in Everett, Mass, which is about 3 towns away from Swampscott. But anyway,
really good stuff. Let's go.
Getting back to the train, Bruce. So,
yeah, talk about that train, man.
So we're in Trinidad, and one night a train starts lumbering through beyond the outfield fence, and it's an Amtrak train. I thought it's kind of cool, the Amtrak service here in Trinidad. And then sure enough, the next day the train rolled through again, and then again at just about 6:49 every night. So first of all, I can tell you whatever train that was coming in at 6:49. So I got home and quickly Googled it. The train that was running on the tracks just beyond the outfield, pulling into the Trinidad station, it was coming from Raton, New Mexico, which is south. It is the Southwest Chief, which runs from Los Angeles to Chicago. Trinidad is probably, I don't know, maybe a third of the way, maybe a little bit more. And when it pulls into Trinidad and leaves shortly thereafter, it still has 21 hours to go to pass through the Midwest to get to Chicago.
Can you imagine being a ball player in the teens and 20s and it's train travel everywhere? You're going from, say, Boston to St. Louis. And of course, you're going to make stops along the way in Philadelphia, Chicago, and whatnot. But that had to be arduous.
Well, arduous, but also, very relaxed, a lot of team bonding there. Though I will say, I have to tell you, I think it might have been in the book, The Glory of Their Times, which I
There you
think
go.
you might recall was written in the 60s
Mm-hmm.
about players that played in the early part of the century. There was a talk about a player, I think on the Tigers, that talked about taking the ferry across
Yeah.
Lake Erie from Detroit to Cleveland.
Yes. Yep. If you haven't read that book, folks, go out and grab a copy of Glory of Their Times. It's good stuff. Now, you related a story to me earlier about how you thought there was a scout in the stands for one of your games, and what happened
Well,
there?
being a coach for Todd Everleth, he has got good baseball radar. And it's before the game, and he's looking up in the stands in Trinidad, and he sees an older guy with a straw hat and a polo shirt on. And he says, Evan, you got to go talk to this guy. I'm pretty sure he's a scout. You can put it in the podcast. Well, I never turn down the possibility of a good story, especially something I can sneak into the podcast. I casually walk up. I notice he's got a New York Yankees insignia on his polo shirt. I said, this is going to be it. Todd's radar is right on. So I started a casual conversation to try to pick up who he was. We talked about baseball a little bit, but it turned out he was a retired high school teacher there to sing the national anthem. So we had a nice conversation about old time baseball. He's a little bit older than me. He anointed Pete Rose as the best baseball player of all time. And I couldn't argue with him. I think he was an all-star at 5 positions, if people remember. So it was fun to meet this potential scout, only turning out to be a national anthem singer. And he did a very nice job, by the way.
I am not going down the Pete Rose rabbit hole, except to say this. I can't include Pete Rose on any greatest of all time list for 2 big reasons that I'm just not going to mention on this podcast. If you're a baseball fan out there, go look it up and you'll see what I mean. That's all you get from me on that subject. But the other great story you told me was there are still good people in the world.
My goodness. So it's early this morning here in Blackwell, and I didn't go to the gym, and I decided I'm going to go for a walk. And I go up the road here from the hotel, which is built right on I-35, a major north-south route. But the part of Blackwell we're in is really very quiet. And I'm walking along a road lined with shoulder-high corn. I'm about quarter mile away from the hotel, and I've got my bright red t-shirt and my gym shorts and sneakers, looking about as out of place as you possibly can in rural Kansas. And guy slows down his pickup truck and he asked me, "Are you walking for exercise?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Oh, okay, that's good." He just wanted to make sure I wasn't walking for help from my disabled car. I thought that was a very nice way to start the day and to welcome me to Blackwell, because we're going to be here for 7 games in the next 12 days.
You're going to get very comfortable in that hotel.
Yeah, I'll be down that road many times. It's beautiful. There's windmills off in the distance. There's corn. There's birds, and all the drivers are very courteous. There's no shoulders, so the drivers are very courteous, pulling out as I walk up, going traveling in the opposite direction. But it's nice to have a place to go for a beautiful walk in the morning.
And you were upgraded to the presidential suite in your
absolutely. Yeah, I'm on the second floor. That's the presidential suite. The high rollers get to go to the second floor. Perfect. We get a better view of the cornfields from the second floor.
All right. So, you've said this to me. I don't know how many times. You said it a million times on this podcast. Anything can happen in the Pecos League. And July 3rd, something happened in the Pecos League, didn't it?
Well, we look at the scores every night, Todd and I, to see who's winning and who's losing. And I had to look at this score a second time. I think you remember we were in Santa Fe,
Mhm.
and it's got a 250-foot measurement to right field. It's about 320 feet to center field. And July 3rd, Tucson played Santa Fe in Santa Fe and beat them 34-11.
And say that again for the people in the back, would you please? What was that score?
34-11.
Oh,
And the game was called after 6 innings. It was just neither team could stand it anymore. 14 home runs by Tucson in that game, 5 by Santa Fe. Santa Fe threw 185 pitches in just 6 innings, and mercifully, the managers Sean McNeil from Tucson and Joey Galley from Santa Fe decided enough was enough. The game had been decided, and it was time to go home.
Well, I once again we say anything could happen in the Pecos League. They had 3 innings. It seemed like that league wasn't safe.
Well, Tucson is one of the league leaders in the Mountain South, and Santa Fe is not one of the league leaders. So I think in theory, because anything can happen in the Pecos League, Bruce, you're probably right. But I think that they probably had to come back for a game the next day, and they didn't want to make that any more difficult, I think.
All right, so you've got 4 games to talk about, 3 in Trinidad, right?
Right. The train viewing games in Trinidad, Ben Smith, on July 3rd, he held a 3-1 lead after 7 innings. He struck out 8, only gave up 6 hits. And my pitching log had him getting first pitch strikes on 21 of 28 batters. The 80s bats came alive when we were up 3-1. Super sub right field pinch hitter Ryan Lutinsky hit a double in the 8th. It was his first time at the plate in 8 days. He had come back from a family wedding. This guy is uncanny. He comes in as a pinch hitter or goes into play right field once in a while. His slash line is 556, 888, 1524 after that game. He got the team going. The next 7 batters reached him. He won that game 8-1.
So then you celebrated July 4th.
Yes. The game before the fireworks, 5 p.m. start. We fell behind 5-1 in the 3rd, but our offense clicked. And I think you might recall our offense has been a little spotty.
Yep.
And we got 16 hits. TJ Beninati hit his first home run to lead us to a 10-6 win. The bullpen, and we were behind 5-1. Eddie Cafton pitched 3+ innings of shutout relief. Plus he had 2 hits. Ray White, John Lugering, and Corey Stewart held Trinidad to 1 run, 6 innings. That's what you love. You fall behind. The bullpen comes alive, and we evened our record at 15-15.
But how were the fireworks?
Well, I have to tell you, I think most players saw us as an opportunity to go out and not stay out too late, so they left when the game was over around 8 or 8:30. A few stayed behind and said they were really good. I heard them from my hotel room.
All right, so July 5th, you were down 5-2 after 7, but what happened after that?
And then we tied it in the 8th with a single by super sub Lutinsky again, and we went ahead on the 9th on a single from third base catcher Sean Bennett. One of our other catchers, John Hamowitz, had two RBI hits in both innings to help us stretch that game out. I think the final score, was 10-6. Pierce Salbago struck out 11 in 7 innings. He had held the Triggers to 3 runs through the 6th. That put us above 500 for the first time, I think, in a couple of weeks. We now have a record at 16-15 because even though we're in Blackwell today, we were rained out of the first of 11 games we'll be playing the Flycatchers over the next 12 days. So we're going to retain that 16-15 record for at least one more day. These 12 days and 11 games against Blackwell could decide the first round of the playoff home field advantage. Right now, our record is 16-15, and Blackwell's is 18-11.
It's like the line from Bull Durham where Nuke Lelouch is doing his first interview in the major leagues. And he says, a really good friend of mine once said about baseball, he said, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes it rains. You should think about that for a minute.
Yeah, that's
poor
today.
gal's like, huh?
July 7th, Blackwell, Oklahoma.
There you go. So You interviewed Ivan Santos for us this week. Ivan is an interesting story in the Pecos League. Give us a little preview of that, would you?
Of course. Well, one of the things is that in the Pecos League, there's a lot of players that stand out, a lot of home runs, pitchers that are dominant, players that are playing every day. Ivan is uh, started maybe 5 or 6 games. He's a pinch hitter. He's a pinch runner. He's doesn't get the headlines, but he works hard all the time. The interesting thing about Ivan is, I think our most diehard listeners might remember that last year I recruited a player from LinkedIn,
Mhm.
and I did it again for the second time this year. Ivan has a connection in New York City who I was messaging with and saw some of my posts looking for. He recommended I talk to Ivan, who was going to college out in Arizona. He's from the Bronx. He is a very hard worker and he never gives up. I thought it would be good to talk to him to get a perspective on the Pecos League from a player who's not playing every day, but could be asked to play every day. Does he prepare himself, and what does he try to do to develop and improve so that when the call does come, he can pinch hit, pinch run, give our second baseman a breather, and still be able to perform at a high level and help the team.
All right, so we are going to cut over to that interview with Ivan Santos, and we're going to catch everybody back on the other side of it. So we'll see everybody in just a few more minutes.
Good morning from Trinidad, Colorado. We're here in room 109 of the Super 8 Motel. I've got the pleasure of being with Ivan Santos, second baseman and also an infielder if needed here with the North Platte 80s. Good morning, Ivan.
Good morning. Good morning. It's awesome to be here.
So Ivan, I have to say, I met Ivan through LinkedIn, and he recruited him through a contact in New York. And I'd like to ask Ivan to talk a little bit about how a guy from the Bronx, New York, ends up based in North Platte for the summer and then travels all around the Midwest with a professional baseball team. How did you get here, Ivan?
First and foremost, I want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here. It's everything that I've ever dreamed of. And if anybody knows the Bronx, it's real hard to get out of. So because of technology, I made my baseball resume. I gathered every stat that I could, and, I sent it out here, and here I am. I got the chance to be here, and it's awesome.
Yeah, we have to thank a fellow I never met, Victor Campos, who's one of my connections on LinkedIn. I don't remember exactly how I connected with him. He may have seen one of my posts that we were looking for players for the 80s. What's your connection with Victor, Ivan?
So he's actually my mechanic for all of my cars back home. And I played baseball with his son from about 10 years old to 14. And Victor always wanted his son to play professional baseball. So that's why he was always looking for these connections. But due to injuries, his son is now done. But, he looked at me and was like, let's see what we could do for you since you're still playing at this age.
So how did it work for you in terms of your baseball progression? I know you went to a few colleges, which is very common these days for players to move around to find the right place. How did your baseball career progress in college?
Wild, I will say. That's the best way to put it. I was in the middle of COVID, and that gave me 2 extra years of college ball. And I also didn't expect myself to play after college, but I just kept riding it out, and each time I thought I was done, a new opportunity came. So I just kept progressing with my door that was open.
So I think when I connected with you last spring, you were in Arizona, but you were in school in New York for a couple of years?
Yeah, I did 2 years of JUCO at ASA, and that school got closed down, and then I transferred to my rival school. Like I just said, I was going to end it after ASA. I had nowhere to go. But my rival school ended up wanting me because I had done really good against them. So I played there, and then I got a chance to play in Arizona.
So what was the rival school name?
Monroe College.
Okay.
In New Rochelle.
And then how did you end up in Arizona? I mean,
that summer was a crazy summer. I was in a league with a bunch of D1 baseball players, a couple D2 guys, and everybody had a school except for me. but I was the starting shortstop of that team. So it was always like a fuel to my fire. Hearing everybody say, oh, I don't really care about, these summer games. I got school in the fall. Meanwhile, this is looking like my last chance. So I'm balling out, giving it everything I got. And because of one guy who was taking videos of his son the entire game, he was catching the angles of me making all my crazy plays, all my hits. And I went to his house for about 3 hours just waiting for my USB to gather all the clips of my plays and my hits, made one huge video of it, sent it out to the school in Arizona, and they said, if you got what it takes like in these videos, you're going to play here. And that's where it came down to.
And what school was that?
Benedictine Mesa in Arizona.
And you were there for how many years?
2 years.
2 years. Great. It's a good thing you had 6 years to get to where you needed to be.
Seriously.
So if you look at where your work in Arizona, how did it? Your first year you played a lot, as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And did you feel that you had made the impression that you wanted to make at a competitive school, playing some shortstop mostly at that time?
Over there, I played second base. But heck yeah. Being in Arizona made me realize that New York baseball's not as competitive as I'd like it to be. Mm-hmm. I'd like to make that change in the future, but being out there, it's hot all day, every day around the year. So all these kids are playing baseball at times that I'm not playing baseball. They're at a level that I need to get to. So I think that pushed me to get the position that I was in. So that was my fire. So we talked, I think, I looked on my phone last night, and we actually spoke in November. So your season hadn't started yet. And I was following you, and I think it'd probably be fair to say you probably quite didn't get the playing time that you would have hoped to have in your last year at school. How did you cope with that? What really screwed me up for that year, my senior year, when I got off the airport, coming into the spring, I got hit with a nasty infection, and it lasted for about 2 weeks. And probably wasn't the smartest decision, but I tried to keep it on the down low because, I was the starting second baseman. And I made 3 errors the first scrimmage that we had. I couldn't feel my body, but I was hitting really good. Mm-hmm. So he kept me at the DH spot, but, my comfortability is being on the field.
Right.
And because I never told him, he just didn't give me the time that once I got through the sickness, I tried to battle back, and it was a hard struggle. So
we were talking, and we knew you were going to be coming out to North Platte, but how did you manage that? Probably the first time in your career you weren't playing every day or as much as you wanted. How did you manage that personally?
It was rough. I won't lie. There was a lot of nights where I was just confused and wondering what can I do to get my spot back. But looking forward, I'm grateful that I had to experience that because it's made it a lot easier to handle now, like how you just said at North Platte. So.
Right, so you came into camp. We had a competitive camp. You earned a spot on the team. Your role, we're in the middle of the season now. Your role, you've started probably 5, 6, 7 games. So you start when it's needed. You're a pinch runner. You're a pinch hitter. How do you adjust to that role? And you say that in some ways that was a blessing in disguise. What happened? Most games you're not starting, but you always have to be ready. How do you prepare yourself for each game then if you're not starting?
The mentality that helps me to get through those situations is somebody's got to do it. I look out in the field and I see guys that work just as hard as I do. We're all here for the same reasons. This isn't college ball or daddy ball, little league. Somebody's got to get the job done. So I took that upon myself, like, hey, if you got to get this pinch hit at bat, if you got whatever it is I got to do that day, you better give it everything you damn got.
So how do you prepare? We've been here for probably 5 or 6 weeks. It seems like you're always working on something. Can you talk a little bit about the things you want to concentrate on? We get to the field well before the game starts. You have opportunities to work on a lot of things. What's the checklist that you use to say, I need to do these things before the game starts?
So what's really helped me, and I give credit to Todd, a lot. He's an awesome head coach. He tells me maybe the night before or 2 hours before the game starts if I am starting or if I'm not. And for me, that's huge. My preparation on days that I start, I'm a hard worker. I love reps. I love ground balls. I love swings. I'll take 1,000,000 on a start day. But when I am not starting, when I'm pinch hitting, when I'm doing this, I've learned not to waste my energy. I prepare around the 4th or the 5th. You'll see me stretching. You'll see me, if I can, go to the cage, take some swings, because that's when I got to get my body activated. But like I said, I got to give credit to Todd for communication, because if I prepared for a start day the same way I do when I got to come into the game, I'm screwing up my energy, my production. So that's my preparation.
So what do you work on specifically? You know, you talked about hitting. Sometimes you're a pinch runner. Glove work. You take IO. What are you concentrating on? What are you saying? I need to do a certain number of reps on this, or I need to be concentrating on that. Talk a little bit about some of the actual things that are going through your head to say, this is going to prepare me for the game, or these reps are going to make me do this better.
Right. When I am pinch hitting, pinch running, or coming in and I have to make a play in the 8th inning or the 9th, it comes down to one. You don't get 4 at-bats. You don't get 5 ground balls. You get 1. So I mentally put myself in a situation, you've got 1. What are you going to do with this 1? Sometimes it's even the rounds in the cage where I'm hitting with the guys. Everybody's laughing, having a good time. I love the energy. But when I step in that box, I almost click in my mind, this is your 1 at-bat. What are you going to do in the 8th? It's 2nd and 3rd. I kind of mentally foreshadow. That's how I prepare myself, especially in IO. That's my 1 shot. So that's how I treat it.
And didn't you pinch hit last night? So it was late in the game. You came up. I can't remember which inning it was. How did you prepare? What inning was that?
I think it was the 8th.
Yeah, that was we scored a bunch of runs that inning. So how did you? So tell. Let's go back to last night. Talk a little bit about that. What happened last night to get ready for that at bat?
All right. There was about, I'd say 1,000 people in the crowd.
Oh, yeah, it was a big crowd.
It was a big crowd. So I'm a big energy guy. So I already loved it coming into that situation. And like I said, communication, Todd told me in the 6th that I was probably going to hit late in the game, probably 8th or 9th inning. So I was already getting my routine down, getting ready for that situation. And I think by the time I came in, we were up by 4 runs. Mm-hmm. So the stress level wasn't too high. It was more like, all right, let's have some fun. So that guy was throwing pretty hard, but he wasn't locating good. I got into a 3-1 count and took the fattest swing of my life. But I didn't connect with the ball like I wanted to. But, you know, after that free swing, like I said, you only get 1. I eased myself in. I was like, all right, you're not striking out here. You're going to put this ball in play 3-2. I got the walk, fortunately, so, you know, it was fun.
So we're on the road. There's no cages to run down. At home, we have cages you can run down to the left field line. So if you know you're pinch hitting, you could get down there for some soft toss or hit off a tee. Mm-hmm. But you don't get to swing at a baseball. Yeah. So how do you get ready for an at-bat when you're just coming out of the dugout?
Watching the pitcher. I watch everything that he's doing. I try to pick up on anything. It could be his leg kick, how high he brings it up on fastballs, how low he goes on changeups, what's his timing on his releases. I try to look for anything, and I master one thing about him. So the guy yesterday, the one thing I mastered was his hitch. He was just doing the same motion, boop, boop. If you get that down, you can hit any pitch that he's throwing. And he also just wasn't commanding, so it wasn't too hard of an at-bat. But I'm watching that pitcher all day, every day. If I can't hit a baseball in the cage, I got to master what he's coming out with so I can time him and square him up, hopefully.
Let me jump back to glove work, because you're playing second base. I think you have played shortstop before. I don't know if you've had many innings here doing that, but we've got a bunch of guys out there. We've got Alex Kornblau. We've got Jake Boucher, who's been playing short. You're at second base. How do you develop a relationship, a fielding relationship? You have a lot of activity going on at second base. You're either tossing the ball to the second baseman, or you're receiving the ball. How do you develop routine and comfort when you've got different players out there at second base coming over from shortstop or getting the ball to them? How does that work, developing a fielding relationship with those guys?
The best piece of advice I got from an infielder coach is to get in your infielders' heads. See what they see. Because you might want to do something, you might want to come from a slot that's comfortable to you, and the other guy might not like that. So from the first day I met Cornblaw and Boucher, that was the first thing I talked about. Hey, where do you like to hit guys on double plays? Are you a sidearm guy or are you an over-the-top guy? Do you like to go off one leg or do you like to flip it? What are you most comfortable with? Mm-hmm. And we talk about that to this day. We're in the middle of the season, so I'm still talking about it during IO. Hey, did you like that spot right there? Or when I'm giving them the feeds, hey, how was that right there? Are you okay with that? Stuff like that. We just build off of that.
So do you reach a comfort level at some point, or is it constantly evolving?
Constantly evolving, for sure. Yeah. We're always figuring something out, especially, don't want to tell Todd this, but going through injuries sometimes. Sometimes we got to flip that ball over. Right. But if we know that before it happens, we'll be ready for it.
Well, knowing the crew that's out there in the middle infield, no one wants to come off the field. So if you're a little under the weather, I'm sure you're sharing information to make things go well. Because also guys out there at 90% is still, we've got a lot of talent out there. So you don't want to come off the field for some type of minor thing. If you had a real nagging situation, obviously you want to come up, but you want to accommodate each other given the conditions of the game or what guys are going through. Mm-hmm. So on behind the scenes, we're talking about on the field. How have you adjusted? You played baseball in Arizona, so you know what it's like when it's hot there. We're playing in hot weather. But talk a little bit about how we are playing more frequently, obviously, than you did in Arizona. In college, not that long ago, actually. But how do you keep yourself going to the gym, your diet, hydration? How do you prepare your body so when you get to the field and you can do your pre-game work and maintain your energy level, how do you prepare your body for the day?
I'm a big believer in lifting. You got to lift. Even through injuries, you got to pump some iron. It's going to help you in the long run. It not only builds your strength, but it's going to build your stamina. It's going to help you make that play that you wouldn't without lifting. I have to lift. If I can on game days, I'll lift on game days too. It's a comfortable thing. I've been doing it for a long time. So for me, that gets me going all the time. Diet, I won't lie here. I'm a fast food guy. I'm cheap. I like my McDonald's. I get my deals, my Taco Bell, all those kinds of things. I probably should switch it up, but, that'll probably come in due time. Uh-huh. And what was the last part?
Oh, hydration, gym, diet, hydration.
Oh, yeah.
And you can throw sleep in there, too.
Yeah, I'm a big sleeper. I think I woke up 5 minutes before this.
I tried to make this as late as I could.
My dad served in the military. I don't know what his serving time was, but he taught me how to sleep anywhere at any time. Uh-huh. So if I can catch 20 minutes on the floor, I will. Uh-huh. I'm a big sleeper.
Okay, so I want to ask you how. So I looked up. You've been in about a little more than half our games, and I think you started with again about a half a dozen. You don't get a lot of feedback because you're not playing every day. You're not in every inning of every game. How do you measure what you've done in a game? How do you evaluate? You've got it's a very limited amount of time, or not as much time as other players have. How do you evaluate how you're doing when you don't have the opportunity to be out there for 9 innings every day?
Right. Wins and losses to me are the same, and not like the final score of the game. The at-bats, the plays, the running. If I get a win, if I get a walk, if I get a strikeout, if I make a play, if I make an error, I treat them all the same, and I try to learn from them.
So you're saying you kind of look at what you're doing as wins and losses. You look at like as a
lesson.
Did I accomplish what I meant to accomplish, that's a win. If I didn't do something the way I wanted to, that's a loss. That's the way you keep it in your brain.
Exactly. I know that I don't have those opportunities that others have, so how can I maximize the outcome that I'm looking for? And when I don't, it's baseball. You're going to get mad when you screw up, but what keeps me going is getting past that anger and immediately just going, okay, what can I learn from this? Was I on time for that fastball? I wanted it, but was I really wanting it? Did I see that curveball off his hand? Was I in my load? Was I balanced? I'm not thinking, damn it, I should have freaking got that hit. Dang it, how did I strike out right there? I'm always looking for, okay, how can I get better from this? Even after my last start, I think I had like 2 for 4 with a walk and an RBI and a stolen bag. I was looking at my hits like, okay, how are they challenging me this turn? Okay, how are they going to challenge me the next turn? Even when I hit that ground ball, I think it was second and third, and I got out, I was thinking to myself, okay, he challenged me with the low and outside off speeds.
Mm-hmm.
The next at bat, he's going to come with something soft outside. And then that's the next at bat, I hit that laser into left field. But I was so proud that I was able to trust that zone more than the hit itself.
Uh-huh.
That's the thing I feel like that levels me up. So I'm always looking at it in a very, how do you say, like, balanced way. That's how I see it.
Not get too emotionally high or low.
Exactly, because you only get one. Sometimes you might not even get a ground ball when you're out on the field, so that's how I treat it.
So the other day, I made an observation. I said, Ivan, you look really confident when you're going back after those fly balls in short right field. You're going after those really hard. You're getting to a lot of those balls. And you told me that isn't by accident. That's by design. Tell me about how you got the latitude and the freedom to be able to go after those balls so hard.
It's going to sound crazy, Evan, but pop-ups were my biggest struggle.
Okay.
I think throughout my entire career.
Yeah.
But the mindset of, you only got one, sometimes not even. I want every single ball that's hit in my area. And my right fielders, before you can ask them, TJ, Lutinsky, Goose, whoever's out there.
Yeah.
Before the inning starts, I'm out there talking to them, hey, I'm covering this. Hey, I'm covering that. Hey, if you don't say anything, expect me to be on that ball. It could be right at you. I'm still running out there until I see that you're camped.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want the ball, I just really want it. And having that trust with the guys behind me, it just makes it so much better.
So basically, you've had conversations. We know, and TJ is still learning some of the nuances of playing to right field. Ryan Lutinsky, he's not the fastest guy out there either. So you've basically had a conversation with them to say, I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to be going after the ball. But if it's yours, a lot of times the right fielder does have priority in situations like that on flares out to right. But you're basically worked it out with them. Those are your baseballs unless you hear them call you off.
Exactly.
And that gives you the ability to just take charge out there.
Yep. As soon as that ball's off the bat, I'm gone. I want it.
Okay, so a couple things. One thing I noticed that a lot of players don't use. You wear a mouth guard.
Mm-hmm.
What's the story behind the mouth guard?
So, I've been with my girlfriend for 4 years now, and she's the love of my life. And she's always joking with me that if I lose my smile, she is losing me. So she bought me the mouth guard.
Uh-huh.
And for me at first, I was like, dude, this is going to make me look like a loser. I don't want to wear this playing baseball. And you know what? I haven't told her this, but it makes me feel so confident with those baseballs that are coming around that area.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have flinched since I put that mouth guard on.
Well, that's a good story. Your dentist will probably appreciate it too.
Yeah.
And I think I'm kind of surprised sometimes about the number of infielders that don't wear mouth guards.
I know, it's actually crazy.
tip of the cap to you for wearing the mouth guard. So last thing, have to bring it up. We're on radio. No one has a chance to appreciate this. I've seen you on the field, and you have long curly hair, and but you tie it back really tight in the back, and so I don't think anybody can appreciate this. But is there truth to the fact that you have the best hair on the team?
I'm a humble guy, but I think I'm there. I think I'm number one on that.
I mean,
spot.
I don't want to diss anybody. We could say you're in the top three.
Pierce has some really good hair.
Pierce does too. Corey's is a little unkempt, but I do have to say that if there was some kind of competition, you might have a shot at getting the best hair on the team. So I just want to say, Ivan, thank you so much for taking your time today to share your baseball background and insights as an important part of the North Platte 80s team. And we got one more game in Trinidad, and hopefully we can make it a sweep tonight.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
do it.
Thanks again. Take care, Ivan. Ivan, take care.
Sir, you too.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. You are listening to Baseball's Last Frontier, stories from the Pecos League. I am Bruce McClure, and I'm here with Evan Katz, North Platte 80s bullpen coach. Evan, great stuff with Ivan. He's a good kid.
Good to hear things from a player who doesn't play every day. As I said earlier, I think it's one thing to know when you're going to the ballpark to prepare every day and know you're going to be starting, or if you're a starting pitcher and you know what your routine is. And it was really insightful to hear how Ivan prepares himself so he's always ready no matter what the circumstances are for the North Platte 80s.
There is such a difference in preparation from a guy who knows he's going to be in the lineup every day, batting third, batting sixth, wherever he might be in the lineup, or a pitcher who knows he's going to pitch every fifth day, and somebody who is super sub and never knows what's coming next. Those guys are the ones who are, in my opinion, so integral to a team's success. And Ivan is no different from that list.
I mean, when we came to camp, we ended up cutting players. Ivan had to make the team, and then it was always a lot of downtime. And every time I turned around, he seemed to be working on something. He was working on doing his glove work. He was taking extra swings in the cage. He was doing drills with other players, and it's clearly paid off for him because as the season has gone on, he's become more and more part of the fabric of each game.
All right, so you're in Blackwell and you're there forever, right? You're never coming home. You're there forever, right?
Well, we're here for 2 weeks. They're coming to North Platte after we leave tomorrow. They're probably going to be in the same caravan as us because they're coming to North Platte for 4 more games in North Platte, and then we going to see them again after we go to the All-Star game in Garden City on the 13th and have a single game in Garden City. This is a really interesting part of the Pecos League. The Garden City All-Star game is worked around team schedules. So the All-Star game is Sunday the 13th. We have a single game in Garden City on the 14th. And one of the reasons is that allows any North Platte 80s who are going to attend the game to make it easy for travel. So the way the commissioner works it, he tries to cluster teams at or near the all-star location to make it easier for players to play in the game. And then after that, back in Blackwell for 5 more games. We have 2 weeks of baseball with playoff implications because we're just a few games behind Blackwell, and we may be fighting for home field advantage for the first round during these 11 games.
So the playoff race is heating up for North Platte.
Yes, absolutely. We're in the wild card hunt right now. Garden City's way ahead in our division, and we're trying to secure the best position for the playoffs and get a home field. Our field in North Platte, it's a little bit bigger. It's all grass. There are some teams that tend to do a little bit better on turf. Some teams that take advantage of short fields. We don't have a big power hitting team, so we have a little more of an advantage in North Platte, I think, than some of the power hitting teams because the park is bigger than a lot. It's much bigger than Trinidad. It's much bigger than Blackwell. It's actually bigger than Garden City as well.
Before we close this out, you had mentioned something just a minute ago that stuck with me. I want to ask you about it. As you're traveling, do you, for lack of better, meet up with other teams on the road frequently? Not very frequently, not at all. And you mentioned a little of it, but how often does that happen?
Usually not very often. I mean, because you're in town with one other team. There's a lot of cross-pollination between the teams. The players know each other, the managers know each other. So we do spend a lot of time before or after games chatting with other players. I mean, there's some competition. Sometimes it gets a little bit heated, but usually after the game, things pipe down. And the way it works in North Platte is that we're in a dorm area of single-story apartment suites, and so I'm in a one with Todd Everleth, the manager, and there's another 8 or 10. The visiting teams stay there, but they take up so many of them we can only have one there at a time.
Okay.
And so we'll only see one at a time, and then also the league pays for the hotel rooms. So you can be sure that Andrew Dunn, the commissioner, doesn't double book and have 2 teams in a hotel at the same time. He doesn't want to overspend his travel budget. But there is a lot of cross-pollination. There's a lot of connectivity between teams, especially among the veterans who have played for more than 1 year. They know guys all over the league.
That's very interesting. All right, for more information on the Pecos League, check out their website at pecosleague.com. And you can catch all the action in 2025 at pecosleague.tv as well. And finally, if you're a hardcore baseball fan, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community. Offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom, SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world. For more information, go to sabr.org today. Evan, last licks. What about that all-star team? Talk to me about that.
Last licks. We are pleased to announce and give a shout out to the North Platte 80s named to the Mountain Division North All-Star Team. Left-handed pitcher Ben Smith from Worcester State in Massachusetts and Bourne, Massachusetts with a 3-1 record, 2.60 ERA, 33 strikeouts and 38 innings pitched has been named to the team. Along with right-handed pitcher Pierce Salbago from Suffolk University and Long Island, New York, 2-3 record, 5.76 ERA, 47 strikeouts, 4th in the league in 34 innings pitched. First baseman, Kobe Tweeten from North Dakota. He is a veteran. He's hitting .370, 37 hits, 27 walks, and 7 hit by pitches with 19 RBIs. Our cleanup hitter. He is representing North Platte in the Mountain Division North All-Star team. Our team RBI leader, Aiden Diltz from Plattsburgh State in New York. He'll be representing the team as well. And our center fielder, Rico Riley, he is part of the no-fly zone in the outfield, where no fly ball to the outfield touches the ground. He is our defensive leader, covering acres, it seems, in the outfield, hitting .375 and is the team leader in hits, runs, doubles, home runs, and stolen bases. He is the 5th and final member of the 80s named to the Mountain Division North All-Star team. They have been invited to play the Mountain Division South at Garden City at Clint Leitner Field at 3 o'clock on Sunday, July 13th. That game is live on Pecos League TV.
Nice. That'll be a good watch. And I love no fly zone. Love that. That's fantastic. That's great stuff.
I can't take credit for that one. I don't know who in the bullpen came up with that, but I latched on to that label.
It's all right. I love it. That's great. All right. Let's get everybody out of here. For Evan Katz, I am Bruce McClure. We'll talk to you next week.